The story begins with the hero, Yuga, gathering outside the Demon Lord's castle with his loyal party. Before entering the castle, the party members hype each other up for the final battle. Soon, the castle's gates open and several sinister eyes peek out from within. After the party enters the castle, they are greeted by the Demon Lord's general, Yoki, who arrogantly taunts them for being too weak. The party's mage tries to attack Yoki with an energy blast, but he easily dispels it. Next, the swordsman tries to melee him, but Yoki dodges him attack and sends him back with a kick. Finally, the support mage, Cecilia, uses an enhancement spell on Yuga, who unleashes his ultimate spell, Excalibur, towards Yoki. Yoki retorts with his own endless dark spell, which clashes with the hero's Excalibur. After a power struggle, Yoki overwhelms the hero and defeats the whole party on his own. Lying on the ground, defeated, Yuga wonders if this is the end of the road for him and his friends. After Yuga passes out, Yoki starts healing all the defeated heroes. However, he notices that the support mage looks very pretty and ends up distracted by her looks. After some time, he brings the heroes to a prison in the castle. Inside, Yoki's subordinates ask him if they should kill the heroes. Yoki gets shocked by their presence, so all of his subordinates start calling him out for staring at the unconscious Cecilia. Finally, Yoki sighs and tells them to dump the heroes near a human village, painfully saying goodbye to his angelic crush. After a month, the Demon Lord summons Yoki straight to his room. There, his right-hand man, Zekil, asks Yoki how many times he had to deal with the heroes returning for a challenge. Yoki tells him that they've challenged him 13 times already, so Zekil thinks that the heroes are a bunch of weaklings who can't learn their lesson. The Demon Lord wonders why Yoki still hasn't ended the heroes' lives yet. In response, Yoki explains that those miserable heroes don't even deserve his attention. Hearing this, the Demon Lord suggests letting his subordinates handle the task and eliminate the heroes in his place. Surprised, Yoki thinks that his poor servants stand no chance against the hero's power, since he also doesn't want the pretty support mage to get hurt. He offers to dispose of the heroes by himself. The Demon Lord smiles, silently agreeing to let Yoki handle it. As Yoki leaves the throne room and heads back to his room, he feels worried for the heroes' lives. He also knows that he's the only one overpowered enough to defeat the heroes. Otherwise, they are strong enough to kill the Demon Lord. In the end, Yoki wonders what he should do next, since the Demon Lord will soon rule over the entire world. The next day, the heroes return to the Demon Lord's castle once more. After Yoki knocks back their swordsman and Yuga, the assault mage, Mikana, tries to counterattack with her own spell. Even though Yoki blocks her initial barrage of spells, Mikana quietly unleashes a second wave right after, catching him by surprise. Despite this, Yoki still reacts in time to block it, and his lightning-fast reflexes leave Mikana completely shocked. Meanwhile, Yoki notices Cecilia healing her friends, which causes him to blush. He then starts laughing and taunts the heroes for their futile attempts at defeating him. Still, Yuga refuses to give up and uses a powerful Excalibur spell to stop him. Unfortunately, Yoki easily survives the attack and tells the heroes they can never defeat him. Yuga refuses to quit, saying that they have no other choice but to keep going if they want to defeat the evil Demon Lord. Hearing this, Yoki suddenly points to Cecilia and tells the heroes they can continue forward if they leave her behind. Yuga instantly refuses, but Mikana suggests accepting Yoki's offer. She points out that this powerful demon can kill them whenever he wants, so they should accept his kindness and complete their true mission. Yuga still refuses to abandon their precious teammate, but at that moment, Cecilia speaks up and tells him that she's willing to stay behind. Finally, Yuga and the party move forward, promising to return for their priestess after they defeat the Demon Lord. Once they all leave, Cecilia asks Yoki why he made her stay behind. Thinking that he still wants to fight, she tries to use an attack. However, Yoki quickly surrenders and tries to negotiate with her. Cecilia questions why he's bothering to introduce himself when he plans to kill her anyway. He responds that if he truly wanted her dead, he would have done it from the very beginning. At last, she relaxes and asks him what it is that he wants. Yoki gathers his courage and admits that he fell in love with her at first sight. Admitting stating that he wants to go out with her. Cecilia is left completely shocked. After giving it some thought, she politely turns down his offer. Her rejection is so crushing that Yoki loses all his will to live. Cecilia thinks that he was just trying to trick her and tries to attack him again. However, since Yoki doesn't even bother defending, she stops her attack midway. Yoki tells her to keep going and finish him off since he doesn't want to live anymore. Cecilia refuses to believe that he'd give up so easily, so he explains that he has been trapped in the Demon Lord's castle for his entire life. He reveals that he's only allowed to go out to destroy human villages, but he never wanted to do that. Surprised, Cecilia refuses to believe him, saying that all demons are evil. Yoki explains that even if he looks like a demon, he was actually reincarnated from another world. Cecilia feels confused, so Yoki tells her that he's actually a human inside the body of a demon. She realizes that Yoki must have incredible powers as a reincarnated person, so she wonders why he hasn't defeated the Demon Lord on his own. Yoki explains that if he defeated the Demon Lord, he would become the next leader of the demons, which would force him to commit terrible atrocities against humankind. Since Yoki felt helpless, he thought that he'd spend the rest of his life miserably rotting away in his cell. However, that's when he met Cecilia, who gave him hope that life was worth living. Yoki thinks that he's ready to give up on everything since even his last hope rejected him. Suddenly, Cecilia tells him that he should keep living and use the power he has to help humanity. She thinks that he can serve another purpose in life and offers to help him move to the outside the world. A few days later, the Kingdom of Clarinus holds a celebration for all their heroes on their victory against the Demon Lord. King Darts congratulates all the heroes before him for protecting their world from a great evil and announces that their kingdom will hold a 3-day celebration in their honor. Outside the kingdom, Yoki watches from a secluded spot. Knowing that Cecilia lives there, to disguise himself as a normal human, he painfully breaks off his demon horn and enters the kingdom. Meanwhile, Makana congratulates Yuga on their victory, and he feels overjoyed. He then turns to Cecilia to celebrate, knowing that their win was thanks to her, which causes Makana to feel neglected. A little while later, Yoki enters the city's adventurers guild to register himself. The lazy receptionist, Clayman, sighs and pulls out the registration form. After Yoki signs the form, Clayman gives him a guild card and explains that he'll start at the lowest F rank, which goes up to S rank. He explains that Yoki can take commissions to rank up, but it normally takes an adventurer a full month to reach E rank. Then, he warns Yoki not to lose his card and wishes him good luck. After getting his card, Yoki completes a bunch of missions and gets enough money to rent an inn. A week later, he enters the guild again, where all the adventurers are discussing a rising adventurer who is ranking up crazy fast. Meanwhile, Yoki asks Clayman for some more commissions, but the lazy receptionist gets enraged since he doesn't want to deal with any paperwork today and tells him to talk to the pretty lady next to him instead. However, Yoki refuses, saying that he likes spending time with Clayman instead. Putting that aside, Clayman asks Yoki about his real identity, knowing that no normal person can go from F to D rank in just a week. Yoki tries to pretend he doesn't know, so Clayman sighs, saying that he can't persecute him since he hasn't done anything illegal. Just then, a hooded girl walks in and asks Clayman to cancel Yoki's missions. Surprised, Yoki realizes that the hooded girl is Cecilia. Clayman also wonders why the hero priestess is visiting the guild, so Cecilia tells him to keep his voice down. She then turns to Yoki and invites him to her house for a private chat. As they ride in Cecilia's carriage, Yoki wonders why a girl invited him home. When they reach Cecilia's house, one of the guards gets suspicious after seeing Yoki coming out of the carriage. He points his spear at Yoki and demands to know why he was with Cecilia, so she steps out and explains that he's her friend. Then, another guard drags his partner away, and Cecilia takes Yoki inside for tea. There, she apologizes for not finding him sooner, but Yoki doesn't mind. He wonders how she managed to find him in such a massive city, and she explains that he's become extremely popular in town after climbing all the way to D rank in such a short time. Because of that, she asks him to quit the Adventurers Guild, which leaves him completely confused. She explains that after Yuga defeated the Demon Lord, the other nations have started a proxy war to take power. She reveals that Yuga is already getting plenty of offers from the rulers, including women, money, and all the power he could dream of. While Yoki feels jealous of the hero, he also realizes that the nations are just trying to use him as a pawn. Cecilia then points out that with his extraordinary power, Yoki would also attract similar attention from the nations wanting to use his strength. since he's even stronger than the hero. She fears that Yoki's power would be misused to take over the world. Yoki understands her fears, but he also reminds her that he has bills to pay. Cecilia offers to hire him herself, but she admits that she doesn't have the money worth his time. She then begs him to accept her offer, but suddenly Yoki tells her to raise her head. He confidently declares that even if the most beautiful woman on earth were offered to him, he would never accept it since he only has eyes for Cecilia. This makes her laugh, and Yoki feels embarrassed by his own big words. Soon, Cecilia's mother, Celia, also enters the room. She apologizes to Yoki for her guard's rude behavior and sends her maid, Sophia, to discipline him. Once the maid leaves, Celia reveals that her daughter is already getting many engagement offers. Yoki gets shocked since even the hero, Yuga, tried confessing to Cecilia, but she reassures him that she turned him down. Seeing Yoki's flustered reaction, Celia wonders if he also likes her daughter. She then sits with him and asks if he'd like to marry Cecilia. Shocked, Yoki wonders if she's testing him, but Celia tells him to give her a straight answer. Then, he shakes his head, explaining that he has already been rejected by Cecilia once. Yoki explains that he's currently trying to build a stable life as an adventurer to propose to Cecilia again. Celia asks if he's refusing her generous offer, so Yoki tells her that he'll still respect Cecilia's feelings. Finally, Celia approves of Yoki's conduct and explains that she was just testing him to see if he jumped at the chance. Since she wouldn't marry her daughter to just any desperate creep, she approves of Yoki and allows him to visit their house in the future. Afterward, Cecilia tells Yoki that her mother might be interested in him. While Yoki still feels uneasy about her mom, he appreciates the chance she gave him. He then asks if he can call her by her first name, and she agrees, calling him by his first name in return. Overjoyed, Yoki cheers loudly, feeling like he is one step closer to the girl he loves. The next day, Yoki tracks down a cicatrice for his quest and effortlessly avoids all of its lasers. As Yoki keeps dodging it, the monster grows even more furious and continues charging towards him. Once it gets close enough, Yoki unleashes a powerful thunderbolt spell that turns the monster bird into a big pile of KFC. After that, he collects every last feather from the bird to finish the quest. Out of nowhere, a Dullahan suddenly shows up, and almost immediately after, a harpy swoops down from above and attacks Yoki. Then, a second boy joins in and also goes after him, prompting Yoki to remind the three attackers that he is actually their former master. Once they realize that the boy is Yoki in disguise, Duke asks why he vanished following the Demon Lord's death. The others share the same question, so Yoki decides to explain the reason he suddenly left them behind. First, he proudly reveals how he confessed his feelings to Cecilia and got rejected without a second thought. Then, Yoki also tells the demons that he is currently living as a human adventurer. This surprises all of them, so Yoki tells everyone they're free to live their lives without him now. However, none of them wants to abandon their master. Curious to see what kind of girl made him leave his previous post, Yoki firmly refuses to let them come along, reminding the demons that they would also need to endure the trouble of wearing extremely careful disguises. Even so, none of them are discouraged by this warning, and in the end, Yoki agrees to let them join. Afterward, he strips them all of their demonic features. When Cecilia finds out that Yoki stripped the poor harpy of all her feathers, she immediately starts chewing him out for his insensitive action. Yoki also admits his mistake and apologizes, so all the demons enjoy watching him suffer. Then, Cecilia takes them all inside her house to serve tea. There, she feels surprised that all three demons pulled off such natural human disguises. Duke explains to her that he attached his head to his armor, while Seek the Pixie and Happiness the Harpy also removed their most prominent features to fit into society. Then, he also tells Cecilia that Yoki is the reason their demon party is so laid back. Back in the Demon Lord's castle, Zekil would always try to force Yoki to work. Unfortunately for him, Yoki always refused to go out of his room, leaving the Demon Lord completely frustrated. At the time, Duke thought it was a good idea to punish Yoki, but he got his head blown off instead. Ever since then, he has been serving Yoki as a true subordinate. Cecilia realizes the respect all the demons hold for him. Suddenly, Yoki realizes that the other two demons are missing. Since they can't afford to let anyone else see them, the group gets up to search for the missing troublemakers. As they walk through the mansion's courtyard, the group finds Seek sleeping on Celia's lap. Yoki apologizes to Celia for any trouble caused by his friend, but she reassures him that it's no trouble. She explains that she had been following Seek around since he was playing alone, but the young boy boy got tired and fell asleep. Yoki nods, but asks her where Happiness went since she was also with Seek. Hearing this, Celia reveals that Sophia found Happiness and already took her in to train her into a proper maid. All of the kids head inside and ask Sophia why she kidnapped their innocent friend. As Sophia learns that Happiness is with Yoki, she explains that she was supposed to get a new maid and just assumed it was her. Yoki also apologizes to Sophia for getting her hopes up and asks Happiness to change out of her uniform. For some reason, Happiness refuses to remove it. She turns to Sophia and asks to keep the job anyway, leaving everyone shocked. Afterward, everyone congratulates Happiness on her new job as they prepare to leave. Celia welcomes the demons to visit her whenever they can, before sneaking up to Yoki. She quickly tells him that Cecilia has a day off coming up, so he should take her out on a date. Elated, Yoki instantly agrees to the parents-sanctioned official hangout. The next day, he waits for Cecilia at their meeting spot. Soon, her carriage arrives at the destination, and she gets off wearing a pretty disguise outfit. As Yoki stares at her in surprise, Cecilia wonders if he's okay. He explains that her glasses really caught him off guard, so she reminds him that she has to remain disguised since the entire city knows her. Then, Cecilia apologizes for putting Yoki through all this, but he shakes his head and promises to make it the best date ever for her. Afterward, both of them explore the city streets together. On their walk, Cecilia notices a cute bakery and makes a mental note to have tea there later. Then, she starts admiring some flowers at a shop, but Yoki inwardly thinks that the flowers can't even compare to her beauty. After they leave the flower shop, Cecilia begins stroking a nearby cat while making cute cat-like sounds, causing Yoki to deliberately look away so he won't give in to the temptation. Shortly after, the two head to a clothing boutique, where Yoki assists her in choosing a beautiful red dress. Afterward, Cecilia thanks Yoki for his company, since she already feels well rested from her usual stressful days. Surprised, he feels glad that he could help her feel better. Then, he takes her to an accessory shop for a small gift. Nearby, Yuga is also out on a date with Makana in disguise. Spotting Cecilia, he immediately starts calling out to her, but Makana shuts him up to protect their covers. Yuga then walks over to Cecilia, wondering what she's doing outside. He tells her that he's exploring the city with Makana and invites her to join them, leaving Yoki entirely out of the equation. Cecilia tries to explain she's hanging out with Yoki, so Yuga finally agrees to let him come along as well. Then, he drags her over to the accessories shop. While Makana feels upset that her first date got ruined, she asks Yoki if he's also on a date with Cecilia, so he nods. Hearing this, Makana orders Yoki to woo Cecilia so she can finally get Yuga's attention in her place. While Yoki thinks Makana is being considerate of him, she quickly stops that train of thought by calling him an ugly loser. Then, she heads inside the accessory shop, while Yoki wonders if Yuga is still trying to Rizz Cecilia even though she declined his marriage proposal. Angered by Yuga's shameless advances, he heads inside, determined to protect his beloved. After going in, Yoki asks Cecilia if she'd like a present. She feels bad about burdening him, but Yoki feels like making the date special for her. Nearby, Yuga notices Yoki talking to Cecilia, so he rudely butts in. As Yuga leaves to buy his own accessory for Cecilia, Yoki picks out a pretty necklace for her. Cecilia feels happy to receive the pretty pendant, but soon enough, Yuga returns to ruin her fun. He shows her the most expensive accessory from the store, which isn't nearly enough to catch her attention. Yuga then removes Cecilia's hat without her permission to make her wear the accessory, which causes everyone in the store to notice her identity. In an instant, a huge crowd gathers all around the hero's party, kicking Yoki to the side like a piece of trash. Then, the crowd runs out of the shop, taking Cecilia away with it. Yoki gets up and tries to track it down, but he runs into another hero getting harassed by a crowd of girls. Realizing it's Raven, the swordsman from Yuga's party, Yoki wonders if he should help him. He suddenly points to a random direction and acts like he saw Hero there. So all of the love-struck girls leave Raven and rush over there instead. Once the girls have left, Yoki drags Raven over to a quiet alley. Since the handsome knight remains silent, Yoki wonders if he doesn't want to talk. He turns around to leave, but Raven finally calls out to him with an embarrassed look. Hearing his soft voice, Yoki wonders if the dashing knight feels shy about speaking with it. Raven nods and asks Yoki if he also thinks his voice isn't manly. However, Yoki refuses to laugh at him, saying that everyone has a part of themselves they don't like. Raven feels surprised that Yoki's so considerate while he turns around to search for Cecilia. Seeing his kind nature, Raven Raven asks if Yoki would like to become his friend. Yoki feels surprised by the sudden offer, while Raven starts getting cold feet. Thankfully, Yoki accepts his offer, but he quickly turns around to search for his missing date. After a while of searching, Yoki wonders if Cecilia is okay by herself in the big city. Meanwhile, Cecilia also searches for him, stumbling upon a lost child. After healing the child's injury, Cecilia wonders where his parents are. The little boy starts crying because he lost his mom, but his voice attracts Yoki from nearby. Soon, he shows up and acts like a hero to save the day. Cecilia feels surprised, but she scolds him for making reckless promises. Watching a grown man get schooled, the little boy starts laughing at Yoki's misery. Afterward, Yoki starts searching for the boy's mom with Cecilia. While searching, Yoki wonders if Cecilia should head home in case another crowd attacks her. She shakes her head, saying that they'll deal with the crowds if they cause any issues again. Yoki agrees and keeps moving, while Cecilia sneezes in perfectly hot weather. Elsewhere, Yuga keeps trying to find Cecilia. Makana asks him to go home, but Yuga shakes her off and runs away to look for Cecilia. As he leaves, Makana feels upset that he showed her the cold shoulder despite being on a date with her. Soon, Yuga spots Cecilia standing with Yoki, and he turns around to tell Makana. However, he feels surprised after seeing that she's nowhere to be seen. The next day, Yoki learns that Cecilia collapsed on the way home. Celia explains that her daughter caught a horrible cold since she was already tired, but Yuga's stunt caused her to be exhausted from dealing with the crowd. Celia also notes that Yuga kept forcing his way into Cecilia's affairs, so she sent Sophia to dispose of him. While Yoki feels surprised that Sophia can casually toss the hero away, Celia praises him for helping her daughter so much. She allows Yoki to visit Cecilia in her room, so Sophia takes her there. After she knocks on Cecilia's door, the young girl feels embarrassed since she doesn't want Yoki to see her room. Sophie reassures Cecilia that she hid away her stuffed teddy bear, which completely kills all her aura points. Then, Yoki finally heads inside, flustered to be in a girl's room. There, he finds Cecilia on her bed and sits down to speak with her. Yoki thinks it's his fault she got sick since he showed her around so many places. Although Cecilia doesn't mind, she plays along and tells him that he needs to compensate her by taking her out on an even better date next time. Excited, Yoki gets up and starts bragging like he's some kind of hero who'll sweep her off her feet. Watching him yap like an idiot, Cecilia also starts laughing along with his act, which pisses Sophia off. The maid quickly barges in and tosses Yoki away, claiming that he'll worsen Cecilia's condition by making her laugh so much. Afterward, Yoki starts heading back home when he notices Raven walking towards Cecilia's mansion. Yoki wonders what's up, so Raven explains he wants to confess to a girl. Raven reveals that this girl is kind enough to compliment his soft voice, so he feels attracted to her. However, he doesn't feel confident in his abilities, so Yoki reassures him that a tall and handsome man would be fine no matter what. With the confidence boost from Yoki, Raven agrees and heads towards Cecilia's mansion. Watching him walk away, Yoki finally starts wondering which kind girl Raven has feelings for, before realizing that the one he plans to confess to is Cecilia, meaning Yoki may have just gotten another rival in love. As soon as the realization kicks in, Yoki starts panicking that he shot himself in the foot. He tries to delude himself into believing Cecilia would reject Raven, but then remembers that they were both teammates in the hero's party. In Yoki's overthinking brain, Cecilia and Raven might already have experienced some romantic escapades during their adventures, so he thinks Raven could easily run away with his girl. Fortunately for Yoki, Raven soon returns, obviously dejected after his crush totally denied him. Yoki wonders what happened, so Raven apologizes to him for wasting the chance he got from his motivation. He then leaves the area without saying anything else, but Yoki remains worried about Cecilia. He soon returns to the mansion and summons Sophia, who gets suspicious that he's already back. Yoki acts like he's just concerned about Cecilia's health, but Sophia simply tells him to scram. In the end, he comes clean and asks Sophia what Raven said to her, so she reveals that he asked to meet with Happiness. Hearing this, Yoki realizes that Raven is crushing on a different girl, and wonders why Happiness rejected him so outright. Curious, he visits Happiness and asks her about her chat with Raven. Yoki explains that Raven is his friend, so Happiness gets surprised and explains that there's no way she can be with him. Yoki thinks she completely hates the guy, but Happiness shakes her head and leaves without an explanation. Later that evening, Yoki goes to Duke and seek to ask for their thoughts on Raven. Both of them question why Yoki would let someone as low below as a former member of the hero's party meet their friend. Yoki points out he's not the one who hooked them up, prompting Duke to explain that Happiness is hesitant due to some personal matters. Since harpies are a beautiful race, they are often hunted by humans for their bodies and feathers. In the past, Duke also saved Happiness from some humans, which is why she joined the Demon Lord's army. However, he thinks that she must be traumatized from that experience and unwilling to get involved with humans again. Still, Seek doesn't think she hates humans since she literally chose to work in Celia's mansion as a maid. Yoki agrees with Seek and points out that Raven is also a good guy, so Happiness has no reason to be wary of him. The following day, Yoki makes his way to the Adventurers Guild and notices that Clayman is oddly nowhere to be seen. A receptionist spots him and asks if he's searching for the Vice Guild Master. He asks who she means, so she explains that Clayman is actually the guild's Vice Master. Seeing Yoki's shocked reaction, the receptionist agrees that the lazy Clayman does not live up to his reputation. Yoki then asks her why Clayman is absent, so she explains that the reason is too embarrassing to say out loud. She quietly reveals that Clayman is in the hospital, so Yoki quickly leaves to check in on him. When Yoki steps into Clayman's room, Clayman expresses his gratitude for the considerate visit. Seeing the numerous bandages covering Clayman from head to toe, Yoki can't help but ask how he ended up so badly hurt. Clayman says it happened because his wife was angry, leaving Yoki confused about how that led to such severe injuries. Clayman reveals that it was his marriage anniversary the other day, but he couldn't decide which gift to buy for his wife. In the end, he ended up wasting so much time at the shop that it turned night. As soon as he returned home, Clayman's wife thought he had forgotten all about her gift and beat him up in her rage. Hearing this, Yoki feels shocked that an angry woman can cause so much pain and realizes why the guild receptionist wanted to keep this embarrassing event a secret. He then asks Clayman how his wife got the strength to rearrange his bones, so Clayman explains she used to be an ranked adventurer. He also reveals that he was an ranked adventurer who partnered with his wife on a party known as the Invincible Couple. After that, Yoki offers to use his magic to heal Clayman, but Clayman turns him down, saying he'd rather recover under his wife's care. Although Clayman's overly romantic attitude makes Yoki uncomfortable, his wife soon walks into the room. As soon as he spots her, Yoki realizes that Clayman is actually married to Sophia. Clayman also jumps in joy at the sight of his dear wife, but she kicks him for daring to call her honey. Sophia then tends to Clayman before leaving the room to talk with Yoki. She thanks him for visiting her husband, so Yoki tells her it's not a big deal. He then wonders how Cecilia is doing, so Sophia explains she's doing fine. Yoki wonders if he can visit Cecilia, but she informs him that she's currently out of the house for business. Although Yoki feels dejected, he changes the topic and asks Sophia if girls really like presents so much. Sophia instantly realizes Clayman tattled on her, but Yoki reassures her he's just asking for honest love advice. Sophia nods and tells him a girl will appreciate any gift as long as he puts some thought into it. Yoki thanks Sophia for the help and runs off. On his way back, he feels envious of Clayman and Sophia's married life. Yoki wonders if Cecilia would be a submissive housewife to him once they get married, or if she'll be an outgoing businesswoman who brings the bread home. Then, he snaps himself out his delusions and walks into Raven's room. There, he finds Raven collapsed on the bed like a petrified statue. Yoki tries calling out to Raven, but the poor man fails to notice him from the intensity of his grief. Yoki then speaks out Happiness's name, which finally catches Raven's attention. Raven is curious about how Yoki knows her, so Yoki tells her that they've been friends for a long time. After that, he asks Raven how things went when she confessed her feelings to Happiness. Raven explains that he met Happiness for the first time when he was patrolling the city. Back then, she was getting harassed by some goons in an alley, so Raven jumped in to protect her. Seeing his reputation as a heroic knight, the goons quickly left the girl alone. Happiness thanked Raven for protecting her, so he told her not to worry about it. As soon as he said it, Raven realized he just exposed his soft voice in the heat of the moment. To his shock, Happiness instantly gave him a compliment on his voice. Raven told her that his voice didn't match his looks at all, but Happiness still thought he was blessed to have it. This gave him the confidence that she might like him, so he visited her at Celia's mansion afterward. Yoki agrees and mentions that he's familiar with Cecilia as well. That piques Raven's interest, so Yoki goes on to recount his entire love story with her. After hearing it all, Raven ends up respecting Yoki for abandoning his homeland solely to stay by the side of the woman he loves. Seeing how hard Yoki is working to become worthy of Cecilia, Raven feels like he's a complete failure who did nothing for the girl he likes. Yoki reassures him that it's not his fault since happiness isn't good with love. He also informs Raven about happiness's past trauma, which probably caused her to reject him. Raven comes to the conclusion that he rushed his confession to someone like her, but Yoki immediately disagrees. He reassures Raven that he's still got a chance and drags him to the market to buy a gift for happiness. Later, in the couple's gift shop, Raven starts to feel uneasy, worrying that people might mistake him and Yoki for a gay couple. Yoki thinks it'll be fine and purchases the pretty necklace he found for Cecilia. Then, he notices Raven trying to pick a gift for happiness and suggests buying a pretty trinket for her. Raven wonders if she'll even like it, so Yoki reassures him she will. Raven then asks if happiness will even accept a gift from a guy she just rejected, so Yoki parrots Sophia's advice to him. He also explains that the trinket matches happiness's style, so Raven finally decides to buy it. As Raven completes the purchase, Makana immediately notices him and walks over. She starts judging both lonely boys for visiting the market without a girl, so Yoki proudly declares that they're actually there to buy presents for the girls they like. Before Raven can silence him, he leaks the secret to Makana, who starts hounding Raven to ask who he likes. He turns away from her, so Makana feels guilty about making him uncomfortable. She then apologizes to Raven for making him insecure, since she laughed at his cute voice the first time they met. Suddenly, she remembers that the boys can give her some new gossip material, so she drags them out to interrogate them about their crushes. Unfortunately for Makana, both boys ignore her and focus on enjoying their meals. Knowing that Yoki will react, she brings up Cecilia's name. Sure enough, Yoki stops eating like the simpleton he is. Makana asks him how things are going with her, and Yoki admits that he hasn't made any real progress. He then reveals that Cecilia has given him a chance, but she's still receiving marriage proposals one after another. Makana nods, knowing that even Yuga jumped in to propose to her. Yoki tells her that Cecilia rejected him, so Makana explains that the toxic hero used to annoy both girls all the time. Aside from acting like a total pervert, Yuga would also let all his fangirls run over him. This would cause their party to get delayed during their normal days, which left Cecilia completely enraged. After that, she developed a completely negative impression of Yuga's frivolous nature. Makana warns Yoki to remain careful around Cecilia, or else he'll also get blacklisted. Yoki agrees, so she moves on to interrogating Raven about his love. However, Yoki stops her, saying that he won't let an evil vixen like her meddle in his friend's pure affairs. Makana gets offended and points out that she was just trying to help. Then, she also admits that she wanted some love advice herself. Raven feels surprised, but Makana thinks it's not a good idea to consult two clueless idiots like them. However, Raven thinks Yoki is a good person for this stuff, so she decides to trust him. Makana explains that she's worried about Yuga since he started hating her after a certain event. Before revealing what happened, she asks Yoki to keep the matter a secret. Once he agrees, Makana explains that sometime in the past, the hero's party kept getting wrecked in the Demon Lord's castle. Shocked, Yoki acts like he's hearing this for the first time. Makana confesses that her party didn't even make it to the Demon Lord himself since they kept getting demolished by one of his soldiers. Each time the demon defeated their party, he would politely return them to a human village. Every time the heroes woke up, they would lie to the villagers, claiming that they left the Demon Lord's palace early just to prepare themselves and be safe. Although the villagers believed them and provided the party with food and resources, they started running out of supplies as the heroes came back beaten up every other day. Just when it started to become unbearable for the hero party to keep up their lies, the demon offered to let them progress as long as they left Cecilia behind. Back then, Makana convinced her party to agree since she wanted to complete the mission and protect Yuga's reputation. Ever since then, he has hated her for leaving their precious teammate behind. Even though Yuga never mentioned this event, Makana knows he secretly holds a grudge against her. She asks Yoki if he'd ever forgive a friend for leaving their partner behind, but Raven interjects, saying Makana isn't at fault. While Makana feels surprised by Raven's voice, he tells her he's responsible as well since he couldn't even offer his opinion at the time. As both of the heroes feel guilty, Yoki knows he can't blame Makana since he's the one who asked the party to leave their friend behind. He then asks her if she has apologized to Cecilia. Makana admits that she hasn't, believing it would be too uncomfortable to do so now. Yoki questions if she's really fine with letting things stay awkward forever, which makes her realize her mistake. Yoki asks Mikana to talk to her friends for the sake of their friendship, so she agrees and thanks him for the advice. After Mikana leaves, Raven also gets the courage to talk to Happiness. He visits Celia's mansion with Yoki, but both of them get stopped by Duke. He asks Yoki who Raven is and gets upset that he's returning after Happiness already rejected him. Yoki attempts to explain that Duke is just worried about his friend, but Duke continues pressing Raven. Since Raven stays quiet, Duke assumes he's deliberately ignoring him. Finally, Duke thinks he's just a coward, so Raven admits he doesn't have a game plan for talking to Happiness. Surprised, Duke wonders why he doesn't want to protect her or do something gentlemanly. Raven shakes his head since that's not what he had in mind, so Duke tells him to just go and say what he wants. Once Raven leaves, Duke explains to Yoki that he was just testing Raven's sincerity. Meanwhile, Raven apologizes to Happiness for catching her off guard the other day. He offers her the gift he bought and asks if they can be friends. Surprised, Happiness thinks about it and accepts Raven's gift. She agrees to becoming friends, so Raven looks forward to getting closer to his beloved crush. A week later, Yoki is still lying in his bed when Seek pleads with him to come along and visit Cecilia's mansion together. Yoki refuses to go since Cecilia hasn't been home the entire week. Frustrated, he explains that the entire Heroes party has been busy with chores for the past few days. Cecilia herself has been going from town to town healing people, while Raven has been working as a knight captain. On the other hand, Mikana is working hard as a royal magician, while Yuga is out exterminating demons. With all of the heroes going their own ways, Yoki feels bad for letting them defeat the Demon Lord and breaking up their group. While he sulks away about his feelings, Seek jumps on his chest in frustration. He complains to Yoki that Duke left their place to work as a royal knight. And just then, someone knocks on the door. Soon, Happiness comes in and informs Yoki that Cecilia will return home during the afternoon. Yoki instantly gets up, gaining back all his lost willpower. He then looks at the gift necklace he bought, hoping to please Cecilia with it. A little while later, Yoki takes a stroll in the town and wonders what he should do before his meeting. As he walks, busy in thought, a creepy old fortune teller tells him that he'll have the worst luck for the day. Yoki refuses to believe her, thinking that any day he meets his crush has to be the best day ever. After some time, he visits a bakery, where the store owner's zesty brother greets him. From the bakery, Yoki buys some cupcakes for Cecilia and leaves. As he makes his way through the streets, he pulls out one of the cupcakes and takes a bite. With Yoki's attention fully on the food, he ends up crashing into a big man, who immediately gets upset with him. Yoki apologizes to the angry man and leaves, but then he barely avoids stepping into dog poop. After moving on from the poop, he wonders if he really has been cursed with bad luck for the whole day. As Yoki continues walking, he bumps into a kid. This time, he knocks over the kid's meat skewer, so he has to buy him another one. The kid thanks Yoki and leaves, but then, a pickpocket bumps into him and steals his money. Luckily, Yoki catches the thief in the act, so he turns around to chase after him. Armed with his demonic speed, he easily chases down the poor man and kicks him into a wall. After Yoki recovers his money from the pickpocket, Yuga somehow appears at the scene. He accuses Yoki of beating up a poor man and stealing his wallet, so Yoki tries to explain that he was only taking back his own money. Unfortunately, the hero refuses to believe him and starts swinging at him with his sword. Yoki avoids all of Yuga's attacks, but his sword cuts his money bag and wastes all his coins. Yoki tries to flee from the hero, but he ends up surrounded by a group of royal knights who take the hero's side and send him to prison. Sitting in jail, Yoki wonders where he went wrong in life. Suddenly, Duke approaches his cell and mocks him for getting arrested. Yoki whines and moans that he didn't do anything, so Duke reassures him that he knows. He explains that Raven is personally investigating the matter since he believes in Yoki, so he'll soon be released after the details are confirmed. Yoki heaves a sigh of relief, but he also realizes that Duke is referring to Raven with a casual tone. He scolds Duke for not respecting his captain, but Duke tells him that he won't take anyone other than him as a true leader. Before long, an elf named Irene arrives and requests that Duke return to his duties. Although Yoki is taken aback by the sight of an elf, Duke asks Irene for the keys to Yoki's cell. He then asks whether Raven has verified Yoki's innocence, so Irene nods and gives him the keys. She also reveals that Yuga wants to apologize to Yoki since he falsely accused him and caused him so much trouble. So after Yoki leaves the jail, jail, he goes out to a fancy restaurant at Yuga's invitation. There, he finds a huge feast laid out for him with Yuga waiting for him. As the hero eagerly invites Yoki to eat his fill, he struggles with his brilliant smile before sitting down to eat. Soon, Yoki polishes off the entire feast with Yuga and Raven. After they finish the food, Yuga explains that he didn't know Yoki was Raven's friend. Meanwhile, Raven puts down an angry note for Yuga, who reveals that he got chewed out worse than a dog's toy for his dumb mistake. Then, the hero suddenly changes the topic and recalls that Yoki was hanging out with Cecilia a week ago. He asks Yoki about his relationship with her, so Yoki tells him that they're just friends. Yuga nods, gaining newfound respect for Yoki's ability to befriend the ice-cold priestess. Suddenly, he asks Yoki for some advice, which leaves him confused. Yuga explains that he wants to get closer to Cecilia, but Yoki doesn't feel like helping out his rival in love. He acts like he doesn't know much about Cecilia since he just became friends with her, and points to Raven. Raven refuses to talk, so Yuga reminds him that he doesn't need to hide his voice in front of his friends. Even so, Raven remains silent and advises them to speak with Makana instead. Yuga refuses, saying that Makana hates Cecilia. Yoki wonders if Makana ever admitted to hating Cecilia, so Yuga explains that she was willing to abandon her in a dangerous situation. While Yoki and Raven are surprised, Yuga thinks that Cecilia was lucky she made it out alive despite being abandoned because of her friend. Suddenly, Yoki interrupts Yuga's story and wonders if Makana was the only reason Cecilia was left behind. Yuga gets angry since he thinks Yoki wasn't there, so Yoki explains he heard the story from Makana herself. He reminds Yuga that it was their powerful enemy demon who suggested leaving Cecilia behind, not Makana. Yuga points out that he was refusing the demon's offer, but Makana talked him into accepting it. He insists that she acted solely out of hatred, but Yoki explains that Makana actually felt even more guilt over him for having to make such a difficult decision. He reveals that she even cried from guilt, which shocks Yuga. However, Yuga refuses to believe it, so Yoki reminds him that he made the final call to agree with Makana's suggestion. Finally, Yuga goes silent, and Yoki asks him if he still thinks it's all Makana's fault. Yuga struggles to accept reality, feeling like he's the one responsible for abandoning their friend. Although Raven tries to comfort Yuga, Yoki reminds him that he's the party leader. He thinks Yuga is being a coward by pushing the blame for his choice onto his teammates, and tells him that he's a pathetic excuse for a hero. Yoki's harsh words bring Yuga to tears, and he finally feels like he went too far. After some time, Yuga calms down and apologizes for losing his cool. He explains that Makana is actually his childhood friend, so they've always been together. Recalling their time together, Yuga notes that Makana has always been a hard-working girl who supported him in everything he did. Thinking back, he remembers how she would scold him whenever he made a mistake. Now that Yuga realizes he put all the blame for hurting Cecilia on her, he feels like he betrayed their friendship. As he wonders how he can atone for his mistake, Yoki suggests letting Makana scold him as she has always done. He explains that a person would only scold their friend if they truly cared about them, so Yuga is lucky to have Makana. After hearing his suggestion, Yuga regains some hope and thanks Yoki for the help. While Yoki feels amused by the hero's childish antics, Raven secretly tells him that he has always been like this. Afterward, they leave the restaurant, and Yoki turns around to visit Cecilia. However, Yuga stops him and asks him to visit Makana's house with him for moral support. Soon, Yoki gets dragged all the way to Makana's house, where Yuga thanks him for tagging along. He then enters the house alone while Yoki and Raven wait outside. While both boys wish the hero good luck, Yuga manages to barge into Makana's room as she's changing clothes. The poor girl's terrified screams ring out to the surroundings, announcing to both Yoki and Raven that Yuga messed up yet another encounter. However, Yuga completely ignores the inappropriate setting and grabs Makana's shoulders to apologize. While she remains completely stunned, Yuga admits that he has done something terrible to her. Makana points out that he's currently in the middle of doing terrible things anyway, but Yuga keeps going on. He finally admits that he was wrong for putting the blame of abandoning Cecilia on her shoulders, so Makana quiets down. Yuga then sincerely apologizes to her for his mistake, which leaves her flustered. As Makana wonders why Yuga's feelings changed, he suddenly asks her to scold him as punishment for his crimes. The sudden tone shift completely ruins Makana's mood, and she starts laughing maniacally. As Yuga backs off cautiously, she points out just how bold he is to randomly barge into her room and demand a scolding, accusing him of being a masochist. She grabs her magic wand and starts zapping Yuga to punish him. Yuga lets out his tortured screams, and Yoki leaves him in Mikana's hands. Then, as he runs back home, he encounters the old fortune teller again. This time, Yoki confidently tells her that he doesn't believe in fortune telling. After he leaves, the fortune teller quietly looks at her crystal ball and wonders what good deed he performed to suddenly boost his luck. As Yoki keeps going, he runs into the bakery's real owner, who apologizes to him for her brother's awful service and gives him another bag of cupcakes for free. He then encounters some mysterious bodyguards escorting a butler and a young boy. The butler thanks Yoki for helping his young master, so he recalls buying a new skewer for him. While Yoki is surprised, the butler apologizes for letting his young master cause trouble for him and offers him a fresh bag of skewers as thanks for his kindness. Now armed with a fresh bag of goodies, Yoki finally makes it to Cecilia's mansion. There, Happiness greets him in a foul mood and wonders why he's so late. Yoki sheepishly apologizes to her before going to Cecilia's room. There, he gives her the food bags, so Cecilia decides to make some tea with them. Yoki wonders why she isn't getting a maid to do it, so she proudly brags that she can make her own tea and food. Over tea, Yoki tells Cecilia about Happiness and Raven's new friendship. He also reveals that he became friends with the other hero party members and hopes that they can get along. As Cecilia tries to respond, suddenly, Yuga breaks in through the door. He runs inside and apologizes for his mistake all those days ago, before asking her to scold him as punishment. Mikana follows suit and knocks Yuga out for his stupid demand, so he finally notices that Cecilia is entertaining Yoki as her guest. Mikana apologizes to Cecilia for interrupting her meeting, and Raven also comes in, so Yoki leaves to give the heroes some privacy. Then, Mikana apologizes to Cecilia for abandoning her, which leaves her flustered. Raven and Yuga also step forward and admit that they're equally responsible for leaving their friend behind. Cecilia reassures the heroes that she has forgiven them, pointing out that it wasn't easy to face the Demon Lord without her healing powers. Back then, as soon as Yuga defeated the Demon Lord with his Excalibur sword, Mikana instantly turned around and started running back to where Cecilia was. Halfway down the corridor, she ran into Cecilia, who was also running to meet up with the party. Although Mikana tried to speak, she collapsed into Cecilia's arms from exhaustion. As she finishes recalling these events, Cecilia points out that Mikana had her friend in mind even after the life and death battle with the Demon Lord. She thinks that the heroes' party only made a tough choice to save the world, so she doesn't blame them for leaving her behind. Finally, Mikana feels relieved and thanks Cecilia for forgiving her. Then, the other two also chime in, and all the heroes start laughing as they resolve their differences. Afterward, Cecilia goes out for a walk with Yoki. She wonders if he is behind the hero's apology, so Yoki admits it was him. He explains that he simply wanted the heroes to get back together since it was his fault they broke up in the first place. Cecilia thanks Yoki for being so thoughtful, feeling happy that he's getting closer to her friends and family. As Yoki accepts her thanks, he takes the chance to give her his present. Cecilia takes the present from him and opens it up, so Yoki reminds her that he wanted to buy it during their date. He hesitantly asks Cecilia if she'll accept the gift, and she smiles and promises to cherish it forever. Hearing this, Yoki's smile brightens tenfold, and he starts thanking Cecilia for being so kind, even though he was the one who bought the gift. A few days later, Yoki and Seek travel with Cecilia towards a village struck by disaster. As they sit in the carriage together, Yoki feels upset that Seek tagged along as the third wheel, since he wanted to spend some alone time with Cecilia. Cecilia apologizes to both boys for dragging them along, but suddenly, the carriage shakes from a bump in the road. This causes Cecilia to retch, so Yoki gets worried for her. She explains that the lengthy journey is making her feel nauseous, so Seek offers her a secret potion created with his pixie techniques. After drinking the potion, Cecilia feels better, so Seek starts smugly bragging about his own usefulness to Yoki. Watching the two of them bicker together, Cecilia feels happy that she'll have some good company during her mission. After some time, they arrive at the village, destroyed and damaged by a bandit attack. The chief approaches the group and greets Cecilia, but he wonders who her companions are. She explains that both Yoki and Seek are excellent healers who have volunteered to help, so the old man trusts them and takes them all to the village shelter. There, the three of them work together to heal all of the injured people. While working, Yoki observes Cecilia smiling as she heals a villager. As he feels happy that she takes so much pride in hard work. The village chief shares the same sentiment. Yoki appreciates the old man's good taste, but he changes the topic to the injured people. He wonders how none of the villagers actually died in the assault, so the chief explains that the bandits suddenly escaped during the attack. He reveals that a strange man popped out of nowhere and attacked them, which may have caused the bandits to flee in fear. Yoki feels concerned about the bandit attack, but he notices Cecilia getting exhausted. He walks over to her and asks her to take a break, but she refuses to sit down. Suddenly, Yoki uses a spell to knock her out and force her to rest. As the poor priestess falls asleep, all of the villagers wonder if Yoki attacked her. He quickly explains that he just helped her fall asleep before taking her to a bed. After some time, Cecilia wakes up and realizes what just happened. She glares at Yoki, who quickly realizes he's in trouble. Yoki apologizes to Cecilia for putting her to sleep without her permission, but he thinks he had no choice but to do it for her own sake. He reminds Cecilia that if she kept healing people without any energy, it would have caused damage to her own body instead. Cecilia grows quiet, but she still asks him not to take such drastic measures without anyone's consent. Yoki promises not to do it again, but he points out that there's no need since he already finished healing everyone else. Hearing this, Cecilia smiles and thanks him for the help, which causes Yoki to blush redder than a tomato. Then, the village chief enters the room to check on Cecilia's status. After confirming that she's fine, the chief asks Cecilia if she can help a girl called Teal, who lives on the outskirts of the village. Yoki wonders if Teal was also attacked by the bandits, but the chief shakes his head. However, he still feels worried for her since she is always in bed because of a chronic illness. Cecilia agrees to check on Teal, so they all leave to check on her. Once they arrive at Teal's house, they find her peacefully reading a book on her bed. The young girl is surprised by the sudden company, so Cecilia explains that she's only here to check on her condition. Soon, Teal starts coughing from her illness, so Yoki tells Seek to take care of her. Seek gives her one of his pixie medicines, but Teal hesitates to consume it. Yoki reassures her that Seek is actually pretty capable, even if he looks like an airhead, so Teal finally drinks the medicine. After just a sip, she starts feeling better and thanks Seek for his aid. Teal thinks that her mysterious saviors came because her deity answered her prayers, so Yoki wonders who she's referring to. Teal reveals that there is a statue of the local deity that her villagers worship. Apparently, back when the bandits launched their attack, she was offering some food to the statue. After offering the food, she ended up falling asleep beside the statue, which led her to believe that it had protected her from the bandits. Seek points out that her sleepiness could just be a coincidence because of her illness, but Teal remains firm in her belief. She also narrates a story from her childhood when she was surrounded by a wolf pack. Back then, she saw the demonic statue glow with dark power as it obliterated the wolves surrounding her. While Teal thinks it's her deity, both Yoki and Cecilia feel concerned about this strange demonic power. To change their minds, Teal takes all the kids to the deity's statue. Once everyone gets close, they all realize that the statue represents a fearsome demon. Teal refuses to let them blaspheme against her beloved deity, but she starts coughing again from her condition. As Cecilia helps her walk back home, Yoki continues observing the demon statue. He points out that the statue is actually a gargoyle from back home, and soon, the demon comes to life as if to prove his point. Yoki quickly jumps to avoid the gargoyle's attack and warns Seek to be careful. Meanwhile, Seek kicks the gargoyle from above and takes it down in a single move. Yoki commands the gargoyle to speak, but it refuses to do so and declares that it's ready to die. Seek prepares to fulfill its wish, but Yoki stops him. The gargoyle relaxes as it realizes its life isn't in danger. Yoki points out that he's the one who attacked them first, so the gargoyle apologizes. Yoki accepts his apology, but wonders what the demon is doing in a far-out village. The gargoyle explains that it was created to protect a shrine, but some bandits raided the shrine and looted it. After taking the gargoyle statue with them, the bandits attacked the innocent village on their way back. This caused the gargoyle to fly into a rage and defeat all the bandits attacking it. When the villagers saw the strange demon defeating their attackers, they instantly gave it a place in their village and turned it into their local deity. Ever since then, the villagers slowly forgot about the gargoyle, but Teal kept visiting its statue to clean it up. Since the bandits recently returned to attack the village again, the gargoyle protected Teal as thanks for her care. Yoki realizes that the gargoyle doesn't have any malicious intentions towards the villagers. The gargoyle reassures him that he's only only living by himself without disturbing any of the villagers. After hearing this, Yoki apologizes to the gargoyle for disturbing him before turning to seek for a private conversation. Later that night, Yoki walks back home with Cecilia, who chuckles that Seek went to sleep so soon. In reality, Yoki deliberately sent the pixie back so he could have some alone time with Cecilia. Cecilia notices Yoki deep in thought, so she wonders if he's worried about something. Yoki quickly covers up his real thoughts and claims that he was just thinking about the gargoyle. Cecilia feels hesitant about trusting a demon near the villagers, but Yoki reassures her that the gargoyle has a peaceful personality. After hearing this, Cecilia thinks they don't have to worry about anything else. Yoki nods, but then he realizes he's got nothing else to talk about. He silently looks at Cecilia from the corner of his eye and forgets about his worries for a moment. Suddenly, she trips on a tree root, so Yoki quickly catches her. As he holds Cecilia in his arms, both of them realize how close they've gotten. Flustered, they quickly turn away from each other, and Yoki politely reminds Cecilia to watch her step. Afterward, they continue forward towards the village, where the villagers sound the alarm for yet another bandit attack. As the bandits begin their siege, Yoki and the others appear to take care of them. The bandits don't think much of the kids at first, but when Seek claps a bunch of them without effort, they're all forced to take them seriously. Even Cecilia feels surprised by Seek's strength, so Yoki reminds her that he's his proud servant. He then gets ready to join the fray and takes out another bunch of bandits. Suddenly, a bandit tries to sneak an attack on Cecilia, but Yoki easily spots him and takes him out. Then, the kids notice smoke coming from afar, where the gargoyle statue is located. Yoki sends Seek to check on the gargoyle before turning to face the remaining bandits, seeing that they sent Seek away. The bandits think there's no way the two kids can handle them all. However, Yoki steps up and blows them all away with a powerful tornado spell. After defeating all the bandits, Yoki notices that Seek still hasn't returned, so he heads over to the gargoyle statue with Cecilia to check the situation. There, Teal tries to comfort an injured gargoyle, while a strange man holds Seek by the collar. After seeing Yoki, the man tosses Seek away like a sack of potatoes. As the man arrogantly taunts Yoki, he wonders who this strange person is. Cecilia reveals that the strange man is Miller, a hero of another empire. Yoki is surprised that there's more than one hero. While Seek struggles to get back up, Cecilia tells him to rest and asks what happened, so he explains that he found Miller trying to stab the gargoyle. Although Seek jumped in to protect the gargoyle and Teal, Miller just focused his attacks on him instead. At present, Miller taunts Seek for trying to protect a gargoyle. He starts walking towards the fallen demon, but Yoki stops him. Miller thinks that it's only normal to eliminate a wild demon, but Yoki reminds him that the gargoyle was only protecting an innocent girl. Still, Miller refuses to stop and instead launches an attack on them. Yoki shoots a magic bolt towards Miller, but his sword stops the attack in its tracks. As Yoki is shocked, Cecilia explains that Miller uses a magic eater sword, which has the perfect counter to all his attacks. Miller grins and severs one of the gargoyle's arms, so Cecilia warns him to stop provoking a neighboring nation. However, Miller refuses to quit, saying that he wants a war to break out between their nations so he can enjoy killing enemy soldiers. Cecilia realizes that Miller is a complete monster, and Yoki prepares to defeat them. He summons another magic attack, but Miller easily blocks it. Still, Yoki keeps bombarding the hero with more magic attacks, but he continues to ignore them as he approaches him. As everyone gets worried that Yoki will run out of magic, he casts a powerful blazing plasma spell, which still gets absorbed by Miller's sword. Seeing this, the other kids lose hope, but Yoki continues to attack with his magic. Miller laughs as he blocks the attacks, thinking that Yoki will soon exhaust all his mana. Suddenly, his sword starts cracking, so Yoki points out that the magic weapon has reached its limits. Soon, Miller's sword completely disintegrates, leaving the one-trick pony without his trump card. Yoki then knocks him out with a single punch and starts gloating about his victory. However, Miller secretly throws a fast projectile towards the gargoyle. His attack catches Yoki off guard, so he has no way to defend the demon. Suddenly, Teal jumps in and takes the blow for the demon instead, happy to have helped her savior. Cecilia rushes to heal Teal. While Miller laughs at Yoki for lowering his guard, Yoki turns around to punish him, but Miller shoots an arrow from his bow, which scatters into a massive attack towards his friends. As Yoki blocks the large-scale attack, Miller takes the chance to escape from him. Seeing all his friends injured, Yoki grows furious at himself for getting so cocky and letting the enemy escape. In his rage, he loses control of his emotions, and his body transforms into his true demonic form. As the Yoki turns around, Cecilia feels worried for him. Yoki then flies out into the forest, where he finds Miller stumbling around. Miller senses his presence and turns around to attack, but Yoki appears behind him and takes him down. Then, he declares that Miller's evil crimes have sealed his fate before sending him launching through all the forest's trees. While Miller is shocked by Yoki's incredible strength, he has no time to react as the demon appears behind him again. This time, Yoki punches him in the gut and flies into the air with him. Miller wonders what's going to happen, and he soon feels Yoki's grip tightening around his throat. Thrilled, the hero admires Yoki's desire to kill since he feels the same way. However, his words remind Yoki of Cecilia's face, and he realizes that he doesn't want to be a mindless killer like Miller. Having regained his senses, he drops Miller into a lake after deeming him unworthy of his attention. Afterward, he heads back home in his human form, where he finds Cecilia waiting for him. Cecilia notices some bleeding on Yoki's head and instantly heals him. Seeing that he's back in one piece, she starts crying in relief. The next day, the kids wonder how to heal the gargoyle's limbs. Teal suggests bringing him to Minerva, but Cecilia points out that demons aren't allowed there. Yoki grins and reveals that he transformed the gargoyle into an earth statue, so they can sneak him past security. Later, they head back to Cecilia's house, where Teal starts her career as a maid. Unfortunately, Celia refuses to place the strange gargoyle statue in her house, which completely breaks the young girl's heart. That was episode 5. Subscribe to not miss the next part and watch the next video on screen.